Hey guys, it's Brock Bowen here. You also know me as the Lifetarian. I'm just about to jam and talk about momentum with a gentleman that I've known for many years online, Jason Moffat. And just had this sense I wanted to have a conversation with him and share that with you guys. You know, we've had more personal conversations than we have business. And I know more about that, just seeing his journey, seeing some challenges, different things. But there's always something that interested me. Like you're so real. When you share your Facebook posts, I always like that. There's a lot of real elements in there when you're having a great day, when you're not, whatever it is. And I definitely admire that in you. It's something I really like and respect. And yeah, I just wanted to bring you on today for the Lifetarian show and talk about momentum. Yeah.
Right on, man. I appreciate that. It's kind of interesting that you asked me to come on a show about momentum because I don't know if you've ever heard of the Colby assessment analysis. It's something that a lot of times employers or really smart entrepreneurs will use to gauge whether or not their potential partners or employees would be a good fit within their organization. And so it really tests where you're strong and where you're weak in your skills. And so my score with the Colby assessment analysis is 5194.
Uh-huh.
The 9 is for a quick starter, like getting things going. I'm almost at the top of the scale. The 1 is follow through. So I'm not the guy you ever want to like finish a project on anything. So it's interesting that when I think about momentum and keeping things going, I'm not inherently good at that. So I have to come up with all different types of hacks and tricks and techniques to keep myself on task and to finish things. One of the things I also like too about the Colby assessment analysis, it kind of shows you where you're strong and you're weak. And instead of punishing you in your weak areas, it kind of encourages you to focus on the areas where you're strong. So it wouldn't make much sense for me to try to raise my score all the time and finish everything when all my strengths are starting something.
Sure.
Now that makes sense, maybe in business, but, in life, in relationship and stuff like that, obviously I got to work on those things.
It's an interesting one. I never heard of that before. I've seen guys like Roger Hamilton. He talks about a wealth dynamics profile. Some of us got a creator energy. Some of us got a star energy. Some of us got a supporter energy. It's based on the iTunes. It's another one that I've seen, and it's probably got some resonance to it.
And it's an important thing to know too, because when you do develop a team or have some type of partnership, it's not always a good idea to partner with people who are like you. And so you want other people to fill in the gaps where you're weak and then just kind of focus on the areas where you're strong.
Yeah, for sure. And how did you stop beating yourself up around that? As business owners, we expect to do everything. We kind of start off solopreneurs and we build our team out. And that inner critic that comes up when you don't do everything or you don't complete it. How have you moved?
Well, when I took that test, at first I was a little bummed out about it, but then I realized, wow, my strength in being a quick start is so high that it made me realize I don't have to do everything. I don't have to be a jack of all trades, and that I have a hard time letting things go and letting other people do things for me. But it enabled me to then start outsourcing other things or realizing that I didn't need to be the everything guy.
Yeah,
and that really kind of made me feel a little bit better at ease.
Awesome. It's an interesting one. And I think the next thing I really want to talk about is the environment you've placed yourself in. We talked about it before we jumped on the call. Where were you previously? San Diego or somewhere?
Well, I was in San Diego for 10 years, and then I moved back to Mount Hood, Oregon. So I was in the mountains. I had a couple houses there, and I was snowboarding. And I turned 40, and I just was aching all over. I was like, oh, my gosh. And I'm a pretty healthy guy. I try to eat, try to exercise. But being in the cloudy environment of Oregon and not getting outside, rain so much, and a lot of microbreweries there. It was easy to develop a beer belly, and just snowboarding, you're taking a lift to the top, so you're not earning your turns or anything. And I just wasn't feeling good. And it reminded me of some health issues I'd had when I was younger before I went to San Diego. And I asked myself, like, how much longer can I keep snowboarding realistically. It's like maybe 10 years the way I snowboard. And I was like, but I could move to Hawaii, particularly Maui. And I was like, I could paddleboard and surf for probably another 35 years, you know, well into my 70s. And it will keep me fit. It'll keep me in the sunshine. I'll be warm. I don't need to own a coat. I don't need to own shoes. And so that was a huge thing for me, just to feel more healthy too. Like when I look at myself on video now too, I was so pale in Oregon that I didn't even like to be on video, and my face was a little more chubby. I feel more healthy here. And so recently I had an office in Haiku, and I moved up country here into Kula, and I didn't want to commute 25 minutes to work, 25 minutes back. And I was like, well, why don't I just create a space where I could work at home and create a space that I love to be in? And so I'm sitting right now in an old tour bus, and I got guitars over here to the right, drum sets to the left, amplifiers, and, you know, ukuleles and computers. And basically, and I have more stuff on the way. I have some inspirational sayings that are going to go up here. And I wanted to create a space that I would desire to want to go into as much as possible, because a lot of people know I'm not a big fan of working hard. I like to play. And so I work so then I can play as much as I possibly can. So I wanted to create this environment where I would feel like I'm playing, enjoying myself. So then it would show in my work, and then my work wouldn't really feel like work all that much.
Were you always like that? Like, have you always been the guy, I'll just put a bus in my backyard, deck it out with crazy stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did buy a 38-foot diesel pusher and lived in that and drove around the country in that. And then I bought another RV recently. And for a long time, I wanted to have an office in a tree house. And then one day I bought a house specifically so I could use it as an office, because I met my girlfriend, and then she brought her kids into our life. And so I bought this house next door to us just so I could have another office. But yeah, I'm always doing something weird. It seems out of the norm.
I love even that too. Someone said to me a while ago, when you're doing weird stuff, it's actually the original definition is of spirit, fate, or destiny. You know how it's like...
What do you mean?
Like they say, you know, like people always talk about weird stuff. Like I'm guessing with a lot of your stuff in business, you're quite intuitive. You're doing it from awareness. You kind of, sometimes your fingers just dance over the keyboard. You don't even know how you do it. Yeah, like that's the space what we want to connect people into more and more today. But that thing people said, you know how people always say you're a bit different, you're a bit weird. How do you do it? Because so many people
I think I realized it, you know, in the last couple of years, how I work. And it came from years and years of crazy jobs, you know, starting as a kid. I was a horrible kid. You know, I was always selling. 8th grade, I was selling candy out of my backpack. And then my freshman year, I was selling vodka. And then sophomore year, it just deteriorated, and I sold worse and worse and worse things. And then, you know, I sold cars, and I sold so many different things on the street, newspaper subscriptions, door-to-door type jobs, selling cable. And I was a cab driver, and I was a street magician. And so over the course of my life, I've had so many communications with different people that it just became so normal for me to talk to someone, whether they were, you know, a fat cat rich guy who's rubbing shoulders with the senator, or a hobo on Skid Row who's drinking the last bit of Thunderbird. I equally kind of communicate with them all and have empathy kind of for where they're at. So then when I got onto the internet and I was trying to sell things to people, it just kind of translated naturally to me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And so, but I didn't know for a long time, like, why am I able to be so successful when so many people aren't? And to me, I was like, this is easy. I was like, why don't people get it? I tell my friends growing up, I was like, dude, it's like the same hustle that we did as kids, but you don't get arrested for it. So for me, I was just, I don't know. It was just, I think it felt natural, but I think I just had so many different life experiences with so many different people that when it came time to get on the internet and listen to people's problems and such, I felt like I'd already heard a lot of it, but I also, I had to work a lot too to shut up and listen. And because, I'm the guy who wants the mic, I'm the rapper or whatever. And it was very difficult for me to listen. And the more I started doing that, the better I got at really being able to address other people's problems. And it was a big shift too, instead of me trying to say, like, how can I make money? How can I make money? Which was the thought I had for the longest time, and it worked and I made money. But then I kind of shifted to where it was like, well, how can I be of service to other people? How can I help them with the problems and still make money at the same time?
Sure.
And then that was a pretty big epiphany for me.
I love when people bridge both those worlds, because we see these people, people got great gifts, talents, capacities, and they're going out giving their all, and they're broke all the time. And then there's some people, and I've definitely been both, where I've just been like, it's all about the money, or it's all about this, and bridging it both together has been interesting. So what are you doing lately just to really bring the inspiration through into what you do?
Lately for me, I mean, it's all been about our son, Dominic. My girlfriend, Lindsay, moved into my house about a year and a half ago, and she has 2 children, and the 6-year-old has autism. And when he moved into our home, he was just a miserable mess, hitting himself, screaming, beating his head on the floor, nonverbal, shitting his pants. And, I'm sitting here wondering, are we going to have a kid like this his whole life, or is he ever going to have a normal life? Is he going to go to school? Is he going to be able to talk? Is he going to be in diapers when he's 10? And so we created kind of a healing space for him, and promised that he would only eat organic food, and very, very strict dietary restrictions for him. We removed all sources of chemicals in our house, in our mattresses, in our soaps, and just about everything that you could imagine, and tried to give him the best chance at healing. And then really just kind of worked with him on behavioral stuff as much as we could, and then received tremendous progress. And it's been so amazing that autism now is happening in roughly 1 in 40 some children. And the rate of growth is astronomical. It's alarming and scary that if something isn't done really, really quick, it's going to get even worse. So there's so many clueless parents out there that are really interested in what we've been doing and why we've been having so much success. So we are filming a documentary called Leaving the Spectrum.
Oh, wow.
Kind of documenting what we've been doing with Dominic, and then sharing some stories of other parents who saved their children from autism. And it's not so much us telling people like what to do, or like I'm any type of expert. It's more about opening up a conversation, asking better questions, because medical professionals don't have the answers. The one that a lot of them do have, I tend to maybe not agree with all the time. And we can't like deny the results that we've been having. So we just want to have a better conversation with parents and show them, some of the alternatives. And a lot of them are really easy. We think majority of it's just food related and environment related stuff, and possibly, what Dominic has and many other children. You see so many kids with ADHD, Asperger's, and other things that might be on that spectrum that's so wide that maybe some of the kids don't have autism, but what they have is autism-like behaviors because of overtoxicity. And so we're trying to figure that out. And so that's really what's been driving me for the last year. And it was never really to be in business. I wasn't trying to make money off of, being a niche marketer. I'm always looking for the hot niche and the things that I know I can sell. There's nothing more hot right now than, autism or vaccination discussion. Yeah. And I didn't get into it trying to leverage that kind of thing. And even now, as we're approaching it, I'm very cautious of that. And, but who knows, we may be able to help thousands of people and make millions of dollars too. And so I think when our purpose and my experience and all that stuff kind of aligns perfectly, who knows? I mean, Dominic could be the greatest thing that happened to my life, and, many other people that, are able to listen to our story.
For sure. I like that you can see the blessing there too. And I know it's probably challenging certain days, but to have these things, a lot of people don't have this knowledge. Like you and I think
Oh,
that organic food's normal. That's just food. You and I think that vaccinations are, interesting.
yeah, yeah.
And it's a whole fascinating conversation. How rigid people want to just aggressively hold on to their viewpoint and be right.
Oh
I'd rather
man.
be open. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. It's going to push a lot of buttons. That documentary. It's going to,
Well,
yeah.
and being a marketer, I know that. And so, we don't actually even go into yay or nays of vaccination so much. But at one point, very early in the beginning, we tell a story of Lindsay. She's like, hey, I had a perfectly healthy baby boy. He was fantastic in every way. And then when he went and got his MMR vaccinations, and then they like tripled up, he got like 8 or 9 at once.
Ooh.
And like, as soon as he got his vaccinations, he like went lethargic for 2 weeks and he never looked at his mother again for years. So you can line up all the scientific experts possible and show me all the studies there are, but go tell that to a mom who had a perfectly healthy baby, and then next thing you know, wouldn't even look at their mother for a long time, and then had a series of issues. Now, I'm not here saying it was the vaccinations that did it, but it's impossible to ignore the behavioral things that happened instantaneously from that. So I think it's easy to point fingers sometimes, whether it's vaccinations or other things in life, but I like to look at the bigger picture. Like, okay, well, what was the mother eating while she was pregnant? What kind of genes did she inherit and then give to the baby? What about the mercury fillings in her mouth? Did she possibly pass some heavy metals down to the baby? And take some type of personal responsibility instead of deflecting it all to the vaccinations. Could have been the vaccinations, but it could have been that the child was like put into a situation where they didn't have a fighting chance to fight off the vaccinations and build that immunity. And it was the tipping point that drove them over.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know. And those are the kind of questions that we want to ask throughout the documentary. So just by doing that and not even taking sides, guaranteed people are going to be like, you crazy anti-vaxxers. Oh, and they will just go nuts. And I'm banking on it because those people will become basically free advertisers in their hate.
Yeah, true.
Kanye West right now. He just released this album. He's gone on one of his many media tirades, whatever. Everyone hates him. Everyone's talking about him. Not everyone hates him. I don't like to speak definitively. So many people hate him, but they're just propelling his fame. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that with the intensity of the vaccination to debate, because our documentary is more about food and environment than it is the vaccination, but I will use that heated debate to try to fuel those haters to bring attention to the documentary.
Yeah, and get those conversations happening worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, talk about momentum. I mean, it's gonna be a fireball just tearing down the mountain of momentum. And the problem with it comes, and I've been trying to insulate my girlfriend because, she's very sensitive. So she'll post maybe like a recipe and one person will say something bad and it bothers her and, hurts her feelings. Well, yeah, joining the vaccination debate, when people start saying you're a murderer or I'm going to come to your house and like chop your head off with a battle. I mean, you get more people.
Yeah, true.
It's so bad. So we kind of got to prepare for that too, as that momentum kind of kicks up. And, we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign on the movie. So, we'll definitely be trying to parlay that momentum. And, I have no idea how much money we'll be able to raise for something like this.
I perceive a lot. People are interested in this. So many people I know are interested in it. And yeah, it just has that energy to it. So I
think so.
I'm going to shift gears for a second, just go down to some of the things. But I love that we talked about that because that's been a big part of your life and some of the stuff we've talked about late at night. Some of the nights when, actually specifically when we were talking then, I couldn't sleep when we were chatting on Facebook because I'd been bitten by this stinging tree. I was literally up. I could sleep about an hour a night for like 2 weeks. It was ridiculous. Sometimes life just hits us with these challenges. People always see our lives, you do well online or you have a good life and you travel the world and all these things. People just think, oh, you're lucky. But behind the scenes, there's challenges. And not even behind the scenes, happy to talk about it. But even jumping onto this call, like we had it where, some of the video wasn't working, little things. But people go and they go, well, that's a sign from the universe that I'm not meant to do this. I just think of them as little speed humps to launch off.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people that could easily give up, or some people like, I eat problems for breakfast, and really looking to, make things right. A friend of mine, Jesse Elder, one time said something. I wish I remember the exact quote. He said something along the line. I'm very loosely paraphrasing, but it was something to the extent of, like, if you're a good problem solver, which I am, then you're going to constantly find problems to solve. And then you're going to be surrounded by problems all the time. And I'm like, what a curse. I'm like, I'm great at solving problems, but therefore I'm also, I'm so good at spotting them everywhere. And now I'm going to live in hell because now I'm just going to see problems everywhere. And it's interesting to be able to try to reframe things and say, like, well, this is a problem. How do I turn it into an adventure or a learning experience to when it now becomes a positive type thing?
Talk about the questions that you're asking yourself, because that shift in perspective, like the quality of the questions you're asking are different to someone who's broke. Guaranteed. The quality of the questions of someone that's not living the life you are. Like most people don't ask the questions you do. So what are the kind of questions you're asking in business, in life? What kind of things are you asking yourself right now? What are you pondering when you sit back and stroke your chin and look at the sky and this?
Well, it's when I start asking questions in business, I kind of drop my emotional stuff out of it, man. I mean, you kind of have to, because people get caught up in thinking, this, or they listen to opinions, and I don't care about any of that. I just want to look at the stats.
Yeah.
Be like, let's take an action. Let's measure what happened, and then see from there what makes sense to do with the next move without being emotional about it. So, the questions I ask like this: I wonder if that'll work. And then I go and see.
Yeah.
And here's the question. I've done this my entire life, and I probably drove my mom crazy. I'd be like, Mom, what if Superman, couldn't fly? And, and she'd be like, I don't know, Jason. I'm like, but what if? And so when you say what if, you're allowed to say anything afterwards, because you're talking about some fictional thing. So it enables me to go anywhere with that question. What if? What if the Beatles were a rap band? And like, what would that look like? And so I don't like to limit myself in boxes. A lot of times, you hear people say, oh, he thinks out of the box. One guy told me one time, he's like, you think outside of the warehouse. The box is a little piece inside there. Like, and I don't always know where all that kind of comes from, or why I ask the questions and stuff I ask. I think, too, when I was about 21 and I changed my life, a lot of it had to do with an Indian mystic named Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, who changed his name to Osho. And one of the things that I had to do when I was about 21 is I just threw away everything I knew. I was like, most of my teachers and the peer group and support groups I had around me, lovely people, whatnot, but I didn't learn all that much. And a lot of things I did were probably wrong. And so I had to basically, start with a clean slate and say, everything you know is garbage. And until you've experienced something and know for true, then don't believe anything. And I didn't believe anything. And it was enabled me to then kind of look at new opportunities and different things with an open mind, and still recognize I still have prejudices built in, but through different meditation exercises of watching my thoughts and trying to recognize that a lot of those thoughts weren't even my own. They've been implanted from different societal things, different people. I started to just realize, wow, there's a whole world out there the way I'm looking at it. But this guy over here is looking at it completely different, and mine isn't necessarily right. So kind of just blinded myself and then tried to look with all new open eyes. And I gave myself a chance to learn.
I like it. I even love, just as you said, wow, you can just hear the curiosity in it. It's like a 7-year-old going, wow.
Oh, yeah. And that word curiosity, that is probably one of the top 3 traits. It could be number 1 traits, I think, of someone who will make it online, is how curious are they? They see something, they start Googling, they dig, they go 6 and 7 layers deep. They branch out an arm here, they're building a mind map. And you know, maybe that branch that they're building is totally irrelevant to the thing, but they don't stop because they want to see what's there and exhaust every resource down that avenue and then come back here and move. And a lot of people just like, oh, well, that won't work. Well, how do you know? You didn't do it. Oh, that's stupid. Great. I love stupid things. Can we make it more stupid? You know, and like, so I just like to not limit myself and then know that I can always come back and adjust and tailor things when needed.
Yeah, I like that. It's just so interesting to get to know you more, man. I love it.
Thanks, man.
Things I'm curious about too. I'm going to hit you with another question. You may or may not have this, but I'm always curious about how people start the day. It's a big part of what I share with people. You know, I find that when I start my day in a powerful way, I talk about mastering my day and upgrading my life. And I just feel different. So I'm curious if I'm guessing over the years it's been different.
Yeah. So it's always a little different. I've found one of the most effective things is to have a gratitude journal right next to your bed, and then write the very first thing that comes to your mind. Like, you know, today I'm grateful for this or that. It's a great way to just appreciate life, appreciate the fact that you woke up. At other times I've kind of done the Tony Robbins power of hour, go out there and really do the exercise and really try to put some oxygen. But I'd say now more than anything, wake up and just go surfing. Yeah, nice. Drink some green vegetable juice and go surfing. And to me, that's what I'd like to do every day.
Start the day stoked.
Yeah.
I love it too.
The problem though is like I surf so hard that like I'm just exhausted. So then when I come home and need to work, or, you know, even sometimes I can't stay awake past 6 o'clock because I'm just physically exhausted.
How long do you go out for?
It depends on the day, but 3 hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours. But I'm stand-up paddle surfing. So you catch significantly, you know, I might catch 30 waves a session. So you got to paddle back out every time. So you're covering so much more distance than when you're just sitting and waiting and surfing. And it's working your core muscles, it's working everything. So you're just wiped. And I don't really know how to take breaks out there and relax sometimes. So I'm just constantly digging for waves, and it just works for me.
Yeah, I like that. It's just fun just to find what works. I'm experimenting at the moment with waking up and heaps of gratitude, love, appreciation while I listen to music. That's one thing. And then I'm doing it where I do some different things. Like one of the things my friend came up with the other day was, wow, now I am and choose to be crystal clear and aligned with my heart's vision. I'm just saying that to myself in the morning, just getting into that frequency. And then starting to go into the future, like 12 months into the future, 10 years into the future, 50 years into the future. And I've actually been doing it lately where I'm just fucking with things a bit and going, well, let's go 500 years into the future.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about bucket lists. You know, oh, that's on my bucket list. And I often ask people, like, let me see your bucket list. I'm like, oh, well, it's just in their head. You know, very few people have a tangible bucket list. And so I have one. I write down all the different activities that I want to do in my life. And it can be sometimes as simple as like, I want to climb that tree, or I want to like swim with that pod of dolphins, or I want to call my mom and tell her I love her more often. So it doesn't have to always be like skydiving or climbing Everest. It can be just all these. And so the goal is to just, every time you see something that you want to do, you add it to that bucket list. So that's one half. And then on the other side, you have an accountability calendar. And this is really great for me, someone who has a hard time finishing things as far as momentum. At the end of the day on the accountability calendar, I just need to write one thing that I did that day that I can kind of like brag about or feel good about. So I can look back and go, oh, look at what I did. And I did it for like 2 years, and I somehow forgot or just started slacking. You know, you start slacking 1 or 2 days, then easily 7 days. And I haven't done it in a couple months, but I just did it on my calendar on my computer. And you can go back and look 2 years of my life. You can take any chunk of a month. I did more in 1 month than most people will do in a year, 2 or 3 years, because I was intentional about taking things from my bucket list and making sure I had something on the accountability calendar. Now, I've done it for more than just an activity. Someone might want to like track like their food consumption. You know, maybe they're on a diet and they want to see. So I tend to treat a lot of lifestyle things like I would my business. So if I want to get in optimum health, then I want to have that accountability calendar. I want to list everything that I have on there. So if I got 3 full weeks of eating all this organic food, I stuck to a vegan diet. That time that I drove by the McDonald's and I wanted those chicken nuggets, which happens to me. I'm human. I'm addicted like everybody else to all that crap food. I know that I got 3 solid weeks on my accountability calendar, and I don't want to soil it by having to write McDonald's down. And so what'll happen, and I have done it. I have caved a few times and ate some crappy stuff. And then I felt miserable, and then I would stop my accountability calendar, and then it would ruin my momentum. So for me, I got to come up with little ways to encourage myself or really reward myself to, wake up and do it again the next day to keep up that momentum. Or I'm so ADHD off onto the next thing, I can easily just quit or give up.
Talk about ADHD there for a second, because my theory is most successful entrepreneurs, most guys are doing well, are either ADHD, autistic, Asperger's. There's something different on the spectrum. They don't think like everyone else. So
I don't think it's fair to I don't even know how much ADHD is real. But one thing I now know is I don't think it's fair to put it on the spectrum with something like autism. The severity of the two are just so different. But I think the causes could be similar. And so when we put Dominic on the GAPS diet, which is an acronym for gut and psychology syndrome, I put myself on the same diet because I have had a lot of leaky gut type issues. The area where my ascending colon comes up and then cuts across to my transverse colon. There's a pinch there. I used to get this pain, and it was like the food was not moving past. And then I think, through leaky gut, it was just entering into my bloodstream, and it was just crippling me in many ways. And I kind of lost my train of thought of where I was even going with that. The AD. So when I put myself on that GAPS diet, which is a lot of healthy fats, so animal fats in particular, I would do a lot of bone broths. We'd always have a chicken broth going on the stove, and coconut oils and avocado. I don't like avocado, but really, really healthy fats. It started making my brain feel lubricated and a little bit more at ease, and I could stay on task. There's a series probably, for 5 or 6 years, I don't think I ever worked a solid hour ever. The only way I could is if I were forced on a call like this where I had to be engaged with somebody. Otherwise, I would pick up a guitar or, kick a soccer ball or do something else. I just didn't have the capacity or didn't have the desire to sit still and do anything. And I thought I was healthy a lot of the time too, because I was on a vegan diet or a raw vegan diet, but I'd be eating a ton of fruit or sugars. And I think that the sugar kind of contributes to some of the neurotic go type stuff, for me at least. And I look at a lot of other entrepreneurs who complain from ADHD type symptoms too, and I look at their diet and I can't help but see a correlation between a lot of them. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, their minds are always going, and I don't necessarily know if that's ADHD as it is curiosity. When you're curious, you're just going to keep thinking about things, and I'm like, oh wow, these flowers, I wonder who picked them. What kind of flowers are these? Was the soil organic? What's it smell like? I can come up with 100 questions because I'm curious. Now, someone else may look at that and be like, oh man, he's all kinds of ADD. I'm like, no, you just don't care enough about that thing to want to dig further. It's kind of like when I was talking about the brainstorming and all the legs branching off. A lot of people would just stop after, if I started saying name, your favorite musicians, I get 10 or something. And then why you like them, I could come up with endless amount, and why I like them. Oh my gosh, that's taken me 500,000 branches, where I think a lot of people would just stop after the first couple things that come to their mind. I know how to drill.
Mm-hmm.
drill down, drill down. What go past that one? And I think it might come from the years of practice watching my thoughts and
Mm.
being, and for a guy who's has so many thoughts going on, and then trying to get into meditating where you're trying to curb your thoughts and stop them, it's so frustrating. And so then I was forced to just watch them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get rid of them, so let's just watch them and observe where are they coming from, and start asking myself, different questions about it. And so maybe that's, I don't know. I'm an interesting character.
It makes a world of difference. When I changed, I did the raw vegan thing for 5 years, vegetarian for 7, and it really worked for me. My energy was through the roof, and then I crashed, but I felt more hyperactive or something. But now I'm eating like really high quality fats, lots of bone broth. I just feel grounded more, and I just feel clearer in what I got to do and how I got to show up. My energy levels are more consistent. But then if I do eat some bread, even if it's high quality sourdough, but particularly if it's like real low quality bread, every now and then I'll be at a friend's barbecue. Not many friends like this before, but they'll drink like the cheap beers rather than like organic craft beers. And they'll have white bread with sausages, and I might have one. Whereas before I was so strict, I would never, ever, ever eat that. But then the next day, I just can't concentrate.
Yeah, I've noticed myself getting a little like anger fits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I got the pressure of the kids and family and stuff that I never had before. So but then if I start eating bad, oh man, it's downhill.
So it's so powerful, right, to eat well. We know that's going to come in your documentary. It's so important for kids, so important for adults.
Good
light?
Yeah, no, I got the half sun going on here, but we're good.
I always just found it interesting. Kids are always told by the parents, the kids are like, the parents say, do what you love. I remember seeing this. Even I used to do sprint training with these guys in Sydney, and I see all the parents there, and they'd be watching the kids do sprint training, and they could have easily been walking around chatting. They'd sit down eating pies and cakes and Cokes, and their whole body had been supersized. And then the kids are told, go and do what you love, do all these different things, eat the food, but they see their parents doing it. And that in 10 to 20 years, it's exactly what they're going to be doing. And even though it's easy to look at the people that are eating all the rubbish and the junk, it's just what they know. It'd be so powerful to see the documentary. I want to finish this in a bit because I do have to jump off soon. So I want to keep 5 powerful habits. So say someone wants to build momentum, and I'll quickly share what my little thing about momentum is. This is what comes into my head when I think about momentum. When you see the whales move?
Yep.
They're just so elegant and poised, and they just move together they're just like a dream team. The team you always wanted to work with. And then they just kind of know, this guy's going over here, so I'll just go this way. There's like a dance, a space. And then dolphins do it in pods. Birds fly together like a squadron. Like zoom, zoom. That's kind of for me what momentum is, rather than like massive action things. So say someone wants to build more of that in their life. What a flag.
It got me thinking too, where I think of momentum before I get to that, is like surfing. Like without momentum, you can't surf, and it's not all about you and your paddle strength and all. You have to move with the wave, and so it's completely about momentum. But the 5 things, I would imagine the first thing is kind of like you got to know where you're going. So even like if I were surfing, I would have to be faced the right way. I can't surf if I'm going backwards. So I think you'd have to know where you're going. I think that journey, wherever you're going, has to align with like who you are and your principles. So if you're doing something that you don't feel good about, it's probably not going to work. And even if it does work, then you're going to feel soured on it. So if you're trying to do some internet marketing and you found a shortcut, but it might be kind of scammy or spammy or ripping people off, and there's all kinds of opportunities like that out there. It might work in the short term, but it's not much longevity in it. So I think your goals, knowing where you're going, surrounding yourself with a great peer group. And so, you hear the cliche phrase, you're the average of like the 5 people you spend your most time around. It's true. So there's nothing wrong with upgrading your friends and that would lead me to the fourth thing. It would be like taking an analysis of whatever it is you're doing, whether it's your business or your food or even your friends. Start asking, like, are John and Bob, doing the things in their life that, are going to help them, that are then going to in turn help me go to where I want to go. And this is like a plea or trying to tell you to ditch your friends or anything, but you need to be, conscious about your time and where you want to spend that time. And so I guess that would be kind of like tracking, really like analyzing the results. And then the last thing would be being flexible to change. Being able to, steer off the course or try new things if what you had in place wasn't working.
I like it. Powerful habits, man.
Yeah, now I need to listen to this recording and make sure I go practice them home myself.
That's the thing. If I did everything that I knew to do, that's why I love working with clients, man. I'm totally transparent with this. I love it because I show up more when I work with all my clients. It's powerful, right?
Do as I say, not as I do.
That's it. Any final comments for all the Lifetarians out there?
Nah, man, just live it up. Love your life. Love your people in your life. Do the best you can. We all mess up at times, but I found that everyone will give you, a little bit of grace or give you a second chance if you're just honest with them and, share your struggle or, just genuinely want to do better. No one turns their back on somebody who's trying to get better. You can have a guy who maybe murdered a village of kids, but then he finds Jesus and he's genuine about it. He walks into the church and, those people around there really want to help him, maintain that relationship with God. And so, it's not like a church pitch or anything, but I think people genuinely will, give people a chance if they feel that they're just trying to get better.
Which I like. It brings me to a final point too there. If that's the case, which it is, there's no risk. We can go out there and fuck up. And start again. Everyone's with that fear. If I leave my job and I go bankrupt, I leave my job and I can't pay my rent. If I leave my job, it's like this what could go wrong. So what if it works?
Yeah, totally.
What if you jump and all of a sudden in this leap, this whole new momentum shows up in your life and you're like, boom, life's amazing. Man, I'm
totally
looking forward to when we do finally meet in person. I know we will. And it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today from your bus.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah,
the tiny office movement.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to see a post about that, the tiny office movement. That's a gold. That's got to be.
Yeah, when I have it all decked out, I'll probably make a post about it. But appreciate you having me on, brother. It's always a pleasure. Take care.
Take care, man. Peace.
Peace.